They might be.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. Welcome everyone, and I'm going to call the Information Technology Committee meeting to order. And our first order of business is to accept the minutes of our June 24th, 25.
Second.
So we have Sam making the motion, Dave seconding it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next we have under Information Technology, our project. Anything to know that project before?
So the projects report, we have completed one of the projects, which is our printer management software. So we can now get some great reporting. We've already started to get some good numbers, and I'm gonna send them over to county admins. I think they'd love to see some of the things we're coming up with to help start moving toward a centralized printing model for the county. So that's the hope, is to be able to get those, so we have the numbers once people request printer replacements, or we look at printer replacements, we can get some good numbers of how much we're actually printing, what's being used, what models are out there, what toner they're using, who might have comparable models, and so it's gonna be really great. So that one did finish.
On that topic with the increase in use of electronic records,
Yeah.
are you seeing less printing?
Not here, not yet. No, we're a very paper intensive organization. So at some point, I'm hopeful we can move
Yeah.
that direction with some things. I think that there's been many that have started to adopt it. I know from our standpoint, from IT, we are like 100% paperless at this point, other than what we have to process for purchasing and those type of things throughout the county. But we have nothing in paper anymore.
I think a lot of that is due to the fact that if we create a file on someone,
Yeah.
we have it available, so we can transport it if we need to talk to another office, whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
And we have it right there. We don't have to maybe go to 3 different places to find it, to get it together before we can discuss it with the client in person. I
yeah,
know that's how it was in veterans, you try to keep it all intact. You had one file with everything there.
yeah.
And, so I
Yes.
think that makes it paper intensive.
Yeah, and I think it's more possible these days with some of the software we have, like through the clerk's office, where we're doing the digitization of the records. That's really a digital filing cabinet is what it is. And so that could be sorted or filed in any way, you could paper. But there is still something with paper. It's easier to read. Like if I have to read a long document, I still will print it out and read it here, because something about reading on the electronic does make it challenging. So I don't think we'll ever be free from printers, ever.
Stuff to make
But-
notes on the screen.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and then go back and actually be able to read them later if you do.
Especially if you use whiteout.
Yeah. Yep. Permanent notes. Or permanent blockage.
I bring it up because just looking for cost savings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think
Um,
Val had a question.
Yes,
Terry, I didn't know if you wanted to let the board know that we've actually kicked off the short-term rental development as well.
Oh, yes, that's a good point. Yep. We have started building out the short-term rental software platform. So that project moving forward should be up and running within the next month or so, I would think. Hopefully. Yes, fingers crossed, everything goes well, but it looks like it's gonna be a great software.
and tell us what that will do.
That'll allow Al's office, along with, well, and I guess the county in general, to be able to track short-term rentals in the county. Per law, we have the New York State law that goes into effect in October now. It pushed to October, I think.
And it is a-
How you could tell whether they paid, if delayed.
Yeah, so what's nice about engaging a third party to manage this for us, one, I'm not bringing on any new employees, right? It will take care of all the registrations for me. It will take care of all of the tax compliance of the owners for the occupancy tax. They can file their tax rate on the software. And I think as importantly, Laura's office will be able to get data scrubs of all of so it does a kind of 2 things. It's the registry and the collection that I need, but it's also an information data source for like Laura's office and the board to kind of let us know what's out there and be able to tap into that industry as well. And make sure that not only are we getting what the law requires us to get, but we're returning back to that program Because remember, when we implemented an occupancy tax, it wouldn't be really used for tourism in the county. Right, so it'll help us actually keep our promise and keep us compliant at the same time, so I think it's got a lot of benefits there.
Now, when it's up and running, with the
Yes, sir.
towns be able to request a list of.
So my understanding is I will be reporting to you and the state on some kind of regular basis, whether it's monthly, quarterly, but there will be some kind of reporting that I do share with you about, yes. And we're still
Not
working
just
through
So
our relationship with you already having your own and how that works.
I do, we have to put that into the system and it's gonna be reported, yeah, so.
So
Need some
we
guidance
just,
on that.
yeah, we're working through that and we'll definitely be in touch.
Gotcha.
And I'm not just alluding to the amount of money collected through town, but I'd like to know what a short-term rentals are, because frankly, there's probably a lot we do not know about.
And it will matter what they've deemed confidential. Cause I know like under the current law, there's a lot of stuff that I can know that I can't share. So it'd be interesting to see what data is public and what data is taboo, so to speak. So
All right,
my guessing is you might be able to know their names and locations, and that might be the extent,
that's all I want to
and
know.
that might be helpful, right?
Yeah, that's all. I
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah.
All right,
Any other questions on the projects or any of the other projects? All right. Ticketing, is our monthly ticketing report. I don't have anything specific to note on that. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Security.
Cybersecurity, is our cybersecurity report. The note that I would make on that, you see there's a nice little picture of our cybersecurity officer and our project engineer who went out to the senior picnic. And from my understanding, it was well received and they were able to spend the day out there. I don't know if anybody was there, if anybody saw them. But anybody have any questions on that report?
I just reading it, it was funny, it says approximately 3/4 of the participants do not spend commit. I don't think that they realize, because my mother-in-law is on our plan. And she by far is the highest amount of time online, so I think a lot of them are on there doing fake thing. I can't tell you how many times she's been hacked on Facebook and stuff. So, you know, I think that's a misnomer, that whole number right there.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I think people don't realize what they're on sometimes.
Software requests.
And so the software request, oh yeah, of course.
Friday, I start getting requests on my phone that I'd ask for an MFA verification number. Someone hacked me, and to save me was MFA. They hit my Apple account, hit my Glens Falls National accounts. But thankfully for MFAs, they couldn't get in. So I was always a quasi believer in MFAs. But now I'm a strong believer. And if you got any place got it, turn it on, because that protected the town's accounts, my accounts, and everything else. I actually had called Terry, she had Ryan run scans on all the my program on Outlook and stuff over here. They didn't try to get an error as far as we can tell. So he thinks that it was potentially an app that got put on my phone that's been turned along for a long time, trying to get the combination number. They do it like, what is it, power? They try and power cycle all different kinds of contacts. And if your sessions is open, especially on your sessions app, is open on your phone, your iPad, or any of the Apple devices, or at Androids, they'll just go in the background and keep on going. They could be turning, he says, up to a year. He said, don't feel bad, it happened to me too. And MFAs are important. Also, he recommended that your passwords should be a minimum of 12 to 16 characters. The smaller ones, passwords like 104368. That's a short one. they can find that one in a few months. The longer ones will almost take forever to find. So those are recommendations. Just want to let you know that it can happen no matter how careful you are. It can happen to you. And the protections you put in place are good for you. So I just wanted to mention that. Because we're all careful as I am. You still can get some.
For anyone who's wondering what MFA, it's multi-factor authentication.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the second factor you have to have, or we hope you have to have on every account.
If you log in, if your password, especially like your bank accounts, stuff like that, you can set up so you have an MFA, so they will send you a code to your phone. And a number will pop up, you enter it, it'll be, it will just come up. So they can't get, they don't have your phone in front of you, they can't get that. They're not getting that.
Something you have and something you know. So like the password that you know, and then something you have could be a text message, could be a code from an authenticator app. And I, can't say strongly enough, every account you own should have multi-factor authentication connected for sure.
One other he recommended, he said, on your iPhones and different phones, you have password keepers. Said, don't use those. There is, keeper security,
Yeah, so there's password managers.
password manager,
Yep,
which
keeper's a
costs
good
about
one.
$60 a year, but it's,
Yeah.
it keeps your passwords because if they can get your phone, you're gonna get your passwords. There's not much security there.
Let's say inside your Apple account, if the password manager, or inside your Google account, say get inside one of those or in your browser, you have it saved in your browser, then those are definitely compromised much easier than a password manager is. And don't be scared. I would tell everyone, 16 characters sounds like a lot. Everyone's like, oh, I'm never gonna be able to remember that, but you can. Passphrases are some of the most secure passwords and the easiest to remember. So it could be a 16 character, it could be you pick, 5 random words that mean something to you, but don't mean anything together. It could be a sentence with spaces in between. It does not have to be all this gobbledygook, that you're never going to be able to remember and put in your mind. It could be, the Pied Piper went to Vegas. I don't know, you're gonna remember that, but it doesn't really make sense. It's not related to your kids, your animals, your, anything personal that they can find on Facebook, because that's how they find a lot of these passwords is they'll look, what do you have on Facebook or social media accounts? Oh, they've got a dog named Harley. Well, I'm gonna try that, and so many people, that's what people use, to be able to, oh, your kids' names, oh, they're probably out on social media too or somewhere, that they can find those kind of things. And so from a county perspective, we're likely still have to discuss it a little more with policies and stuff, but we're hoping to go to a minimum of 16 character passwords with less frequent changes, like a yearly change, rather than constantly changing them every 90 days and having people just put a 1 or a 2 or a 3 on the end and be able to improve our security that way. So thank you, Dave. That's.
And the other thing he recommended is that if you have a password like Washington County 43872, in the middle of it, insert capital letters in the middle of a word, or put numbers in there, like 0 for all. It's easy rememberable. That gives you a lot more protection too.
Mhm.
5 random words is only 15 characters, just.
Oh. Well, thank you. Exclamation point. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
anything else on cybersecurity?
Thank you for sharing that, Dave. It definitely it happen to anybody.
I can tell you that Terry's very diligent at the county level. We've actually disqualified vendors who don't offer. So we take it very seriously here at the county level.
Yeah, multi-factor is so important, but there are a lot of companies out there that don't offer it. And if for some reason they don't, you should question that. Question doing business with them. Software. So the software request actually relates to the county attorney. We have some software that he needs to be able to continually conduct business. Essentially Axon software, which is used by state police, sheriff's office, many law enforcement agencies around. Previously provided a free portal for DAs and prosecutors to use. The prosecutors portal is no longer free. Tony's office is already take care of that on his side, and so now we'd like to be able to bring the county attorney in. This was not expected, so it's not in the budget, but it's not a massive expense. It's approximately $5,000 for the year. Actually, I think it's 5,038 and change. So we'd like to be able to move forward with it. I'd bring it to the board to see which way you would like to handle it. I believe I may have enough breakage on something I just saved out of my software subscriptions line that I can cover it. And just go ahead and move forward with it, but I didn't know if it would be, the board would prefer to put money in the account. I just wasn't sure the best way to move forward with it, so I wanted to request permission to move forward with the purchase.
Okay,
Sure, there's a reason for this, but you can't piggyback on Tony's.
No, you can't. No, the separate system, I'm not sure the separation, but they need to be separated. Otherwise, each could see each other's stuff.
Do we need to move that to finance, or should we just,
If Terry's gonna pay for it with breakage, it's just information.
I move it.
Second.
okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed, motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's it.
that's all I have.
All right, thank you so much. Any other business? We're adjourned.
Thank you all.
so I'd like to call the government house meeting to order. First order of business is acceptance of minutes. Jim, second by Sam. Any additions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Gary? County clerk is number one.
Hi, you guys.
Good.
So I put on there about the passport fees. I'm requesting your approval to, as of September 1st, I would like to increase the passport photo fee from $10 to $12. And the reason for that, it's still less than our stores or competition, I would say. CVS, Walgreens are $17. Post office in Glens Falls is 15, Staples is 18. Warren County is currently 10, but they are raising theirs to 15. So it's a vital service that we need because folks come in not only for passports, new and renewal, but they also are coming in to get their photos for their pistol permits. But and the costs, of course, have increased for the equipment, and it's the toner, the paper, staff to generate that.
John?
If another county's moving to 15, why would we move it to 15?
Well, because I feel like provide a better service than maybe the other county does. And because we offer, like, we actually print out the passports. A lot of counties don't do them. They're by appointment only, and they don't provide them with the applications.
Well, that's all the more reason, why don't we go to 15?
I didn't want to, like, I felt like it was a big jump to go to 15, and I like even numbers. I thought 12 was good. I didn't want to do 12.50. I didn't want to do 13.
It's a lot easier to get the fight up.
I
Feel back.
I find 15 nice and even.
Spoken as the treasurer.
No, it's just, I mean,
Just
I'm not.
what I was thinking, and
trying to
it's that
overjudge people.
it's still cheaper than our competition.
Maybe we don't want to be the
You're
low
down,
price.
you're down there in the trenches.
Yeah.
If you're looking for approval, approve.
Second. Motion by Lance, second by Tim. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
I didn't think there was gonna be that hard, so.
You were easy today.
Well, I did
More?
want to give you guys a little update and brought these little cards and I'll leave them with you all. And I will send you the email, an email with this address on it. We are seeing, and our other county clerks have seen throughout the state, a lot of deed fraud. Okay, so IQS is who we use for our storage of our documents. They have a fraud alert tool, which anybody can sign up for. It is free. You can either log into this email address or this HTTP address, or you can go on to under county clerk and sign up for it. You can sign up for up to 3 names. People said it's easy. People who are not even really like computer, literate have found it to be very easy. It's just another tool to guarantee, or not guarantee, but to help our folks know that their properties are not being scammed out of. It started in the city and our urban areas, and it has moved up. I just had an email from the other county clerks throughout the state, and they're seeing it in just about every county. It's they're calling up real estate agents, they're calling up our title clerks, they're contact and it's gotten almost as far as where they have duped people out of their properties. The scam kind of runs where they call the real estate agent, say, I'm interested in selling this property. The problem is they don't own the property. And the person who does own it may live in Florida half the year, may live in a different state. They go through the motions. They may even provide a fake ID saying that they are this person. And
It actually happened in Washington County. They caught it, but it actually happened. There was a couple that lived in Connecticut, I believe it was, a piece of property. Someone came up, just happened to be, they came up for a weekend.
Yeah.
And someone was trying to show the house.
Yeah.
And it's scary. They literally have pictures of it was like a camp. We heard about one, it was a camp, and they actually had pictures inside the camp of these people's property that they didn't own. So these people, they're professionals.
They get pictures off, it was on Realtor
Yeah.
or Zillow,
Yeah.
or there's a whole bunch of others. If you ever had a house in the market, there's pictures inside and they'll be up there.
They use Facebook, they use all kinds of tools. Okay,
So this ties into the home identity theft that you see advertising protection
Yeah.
for,
yes,
where all of a sudden you get,
Yeah.
things seem you're delinquent on your mortgage and,
correct. We've had a rush recently too in the DMV. I think so many of you may have even received a text message saying you have an unpaid speeding ticket and we're going to take your license, and this is what scammers do. They make you act quickly without thinking, without checking with your county clerk, without checking with DMV, without checking with even your spouse sometimes, and you react. And you give them information, and that's how they get you hacked, and that's how they scam you out of your hard-earned money. So we're doing what we can to help people. We also said, Washington County also sends out fraud letters. There's real estate transactions too, so. Is it foolproof? Nothing's foolproof because they spend their days looking for ways to get your hard-earned money, so.
Some are 10 and 12-year-old kids that spend their time doing it too, and they're
Yeah.
pretty good with it.
They're pretty good at computers, yeah, they're better than we are. Some of the other things we're working on, the easy passes are going well. Revenue is up in the clerk's office and in DMV. We've made it through the Real ID deadline of May 7th and have come out on the other side. The late nights, of course, are going well, and the revamped mobile unit is also doing really well. Yeah, and we have some other things coming out. Archives is coming out with their own Facebook page. I would like to let people know what they're doing down there in the county building, so. Just looking out, and I'll be giving you updates in the fall. We have some other projects that I'm not at liberty to discuss right now that I'm working on with other departments, but I will keep you guys updated.
Okay, any questions, Jim?
Laura, with those towns that recently got digitation equipment.
Yes.
Is there training associated with
Oh,
that?
absolutely. So as the process is, first the equipment is delivered,
Yep.
okay? Then, once it is in place, it's hooked up, they let me know, or Grace know, our archivist. What we do is I put a IT request form in. Then and they reach out, IT reaches out, gets them set up. Then once they're set up, the clerk at the town tells us, Grace and Shelby go out and train them for however long it takes. Sometimes it's really quick. They just were at Hampton the other, was it day?
Friday, I think it was.
Yeah, Friday, and
So you're a quick learner.
I'm not.
no,
Like her.
Rebecca is. She's great. Yeah, she was like, they were like, she's got it. She's gonna have everything done by this afternoon, they thought, so, yeah. But I said, and
Well, she's one that is really struggling to get away from paper.
Yeah.
She loves
Yeah.
paper.
yes.
Is there also I'm sorry to belabor this.
Yeah.
A guide as to what can be digitized and then the paper thrown away,
Yes.
or do you still have to keep it? You
It
know,
was funny, someone just asked me this, I think it was personnel, because we did personnel last year. So once the document is scanned, okay, it becomes the original copy. It's the original.
no matter
and then
what the document is.
Well, to a point.
Okay,
I would say if you ever have a question about whether you should throw something away, you talk to archives. Talk to our archivist who works closely with the New York State Archives to determine whether you really want to get rid of it. We know there's those beautiful old books, and I've been down to Greenwich, and Deb has shown me those beautiful hardcover books that may be a little aged or falling apart, but we're never gonna get rid of those. We wrap them up and we keep them. But like, if you had a board meeting the other night, we're just gonna scan those minutes into there. You don't need to keep that.
Right.
And I think those things we don't struggle with, but yeah, we understand. We scan the documents, we make sure that the document is legible. If it's not legible, then we need to redo something.
I think the other thing that people struggle with is that it's online. If someone wants to come and do research. I mean, is the capability to have read-only access. And not modify it, but a few town
Yeah.
clerks are sort of freaking out that someone's got access to their records.
But the only ones who really have access is us, the archivists, because we're the ones that scan their documents or send it out to Sure Scan and had it digitized in the first place. And then there's certain documents, law enforcement is one of them. They don't leave this building. Dan's records don't leave the building. Tony's records don't leave the building. It's important to, the security. There are a lot of security questions today, but yeah, it is ever a training need, and I'm gonna talk to Melissa next week, and one of the things we're gonna talk about too is in-house training. Because sometimes we have changeovers in staff and stuff, we need to retrain them.
thank
Any other questions for Lisa?
you. Have heard.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave them. You guys can take them as you need them. And I said, I'll send out the email this afternoon with that information, okay? Have a good day, guys.
Who knows? Up there. Matt, you're in the hot ticket. So we're gonna start quick with parks. Let you know everything with the parks is going smooth. Yeah, we had a lawnmower burn up Saturday or Sunday, one of them. Push mower caught on fire. They were good enough to get it away from the shed though, so saved our shed.
How did that happen?
You know, or somehow, probably a leaky carburetor or something. So,
Mice get in there, 2 wires.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess that was a small bump in the road, but nothing we can't handle. I would like to say that our Department of Health inspections were both perfect this year. Not a ding at either one of them, and that's really our park managers, which is Liv Lemery and Hewlett's, Mike McDougal down in Lake Lauderdale, and Mike Bristol, which is my foreman of the outside crew, and Jen, as you guys know, I've been busy with the construction, so it's on like this, it's really on them this year to run the parks, and that they're not gonna out of the park. So I think kudos to them. That was good. We did have a few questions about the sewer again, which seemed to be an annual question up in Hewlett's. Ours is probably the best system in Hewlett's. It's a pump system, goes up away from, goes out to catch basin and then is pumped, all the way up the hill to the road. So we're way farther away from the lake with our leach field than any other property there. So they like to blame us, but I mean, they're right next to the brook and everything else. They have fertilized lawns, which they claim they don't, but I'm like, well, your grass is way greener on that side of the creek than it is on ours. A lot thicker too.
Just like to note, Matt, that I know some people have been down for family events at Lauderdale, they've had them there, and they said that parking lot's full almost every day down
Yeah.
there.
They get used, especially Lauderdale. There was something my park manager brought up to me yesterday. It's nothing, I'll just give you a heads up now. He was gonna talk to Sue. There was some grant money. I think that he saw in the newspaper that Youth Bureau between Washington County and Warren County. He was talking about with the hiking trails down there. It wouldn't be like a permanent structure, so I'm pretty sure I get it through the state, but they do the disc golf, the frisbee golf, like they have it at Crandall. And schools are busing kids out there for the course, to do that sort of stuff. So he talked about maybe on some of our trails, being able to set up a thing, and he was gonna work with Sue. So that was the last I heard. He was gonna talk to Sue, and if you hear from her that there's a crazy request, I thought it was a good idea. Just another thing down there, and activity for kids to do when they're there. We already have 4 or 5 youth programs that come there all the time, so I think it would be a good fit. Any other questions before I move on from the parks? I'm gonna give a project update. I'm gonna start with Middle Falls. That's my most confident one. We're coming down the home stretch. Next week, we're doing the epoxy floor. And during this month, our fire suppression tank that we've been waiting 10 months for that was shipped here, hit a bridge overpass when it got almost here. So it was damaged, and they came out, looked, it wasn't a field repair, so it went all the way back to Missouri. Waited for days for DOT. We have a new arrival time. It's gonna be back here the 31st and start getting installed. So the small pump house that's out behind the building will be probably the last thing that gets done. It was a good turnaround time. It was just a factory repair, not in the field repair. So we're working through that at the best, but financially, I just wanted to, give an update on that. Right now, in the contract contingencies, now that's our 5 contracts. I have approximately 480,000 left in those contingencies. Now, we're close to done. I do expect to use a little bit of that. I kind of already, with that number, I kind of already shaded to the bad side, you know, to try to get that number, so I didn't overinflate it. Which, and then the extra contingency stuff that's everything from our IT stuff, Bob's insurance, the well we drilled, the lease from Peckham, you know, that we're paying for a temporary site, the temporary heat that we provided during it, that we took out of their contract, storage containers, engineering, property purchase, everything that wasn't part of those 5 contracts. If my budget number was correct, we're to the good there too, still, you know, approximately about 70,000. So the 2 of those together, I really think we're gonna come in most confident in that number of all 3 projects, that we're gonna come in really good shape. I'll have a couple meetings with Al, or a meeting with Al at some point to make sure everything's good on his end, you know, make sure I didn't,
Is the bill for 200,000?
no, I definitely don't miss bills. Like, I have their pay apps every month, like I get them and we have to sign them and the information's on there, so I'm pulling off from that. There's just a couple different, lines that the money is in because of the ARPA money and this, that, so I just want to confirm that with Al when I get a minute. And then Burgoyne, we are coming down the home stretch. We're putting finishing touches over there, carpet, tiles going in, you know, bathrooms will be installed. I think, believe it or not, over there, what might delay us right now is the door hardware. You know, out of all things, like, we're gonna have everything ready and the doors aren't gonna have their hinges or their handle sets yet, but there is a possibility. We're waiting on them. It's just, you know, out of all things, that's what's delayed. But we are, you know, we've accounted for that purchase, so it's not like a purchase, and that's all part of the contract, you know, with that. So right now, you know, between what, the contract, contingency that's left is 144. Now, there is a couple things I know coming out of that, probably closer to just over 100,000 in the contract contingencies. The extras for that, which were my guys building over there, you know, like they went over there and they did a lot of extra work out of the scope throughout the winter, and we had them. So we sheetrocked the rest of the hall. That wasn't part of the project scope. They pretty much did the whole WIC area that's moving. You know, I pulled that out of that project and let my guys just do that area. You know, we had the labor. So they're finishing up on that. You know, the engineering, the special inspections, desk, all the hard, you know, all the furniture for the building to move into, camera spots, everything else. Right now, that number, I'm probably to the bad about 46, but the contracts are, you know, over. So we're probably in the 50, I would say. And that's still kind of conservative for what I know right now. So we're probably 50,000 to the good at Burgoyne on the overall project. Some of that, actually, there is some lines that I still have a budget that I think there's just a budget number plugged in that I think we're under, so that might grow. I don't see that going down too much because we're close to the end of that one also. There shouldn't be any much surprises. Contracts are getting closer to the 95% mark. You know, paving's done. This week they're gonna do stripes and lines. And I think they're gonna hydro seed, so most of the site contract will be done over there. And I think the electricians will be the last contractor other than the door handles, the hardware. So. Good. Then Port Ann, which we're farther away from the finish line. So there is things coming that I know are coming, but right now, you know, if we set aside, you know, 10.625 to start the project. We had to do that one change order for Roselle, which was like what it was. 328,000. So with that being in there, right now, we are in our contracts, we're still good 309,000 to the good in our contractors. Now there is some things coming up, but we've been purchasing a lot of stuff. Then up there, we had the expenses of the National Grid and all that sort of stuff, which is a different list of expenses that come out separately. But, we're still to the good, right now, 500,000 on that stuff, which I know there's more stuff coming out. But I still think, and I have a lot of good hope that we come in, somewhere to the good, even with all the delays and change orders that we've had for that building. I still think we're coming, my prediction is somewhere in the 300,000 to 400,000 range, and then we can do whatever after. So right now I would, after crunching all these numbers, I'm feeling a little bit better about the project. I get Al's confirmation, I'll sleep even better.
Finishing date?
Finishing date is to be real for Dan. I mean, they're catching up to Middle Falls right now because Middle Falls, they all slowed down when they knew that tank was delayed. They all kind of just disappeared, and the contractors disappeared out of there because they know that they have to come back to do all that. And in that little pump house, every contract has more work. So they kind of stop staffing, the stuff in the big building, and then they'll come right back in here in the next couple of weeks. And I know it's gonna get really busy when that floor goes again, because they wait for all the plumbing fixtures, and stuff in the bathrooms for the floor. There's a lot of things when that floor gets done, it's gonna push right back up again. But I think the move-in date for Middle Falls will be, by the end of August, no problem. And Fort Ann, I have a couple more meetings with like the site contractor because they do the demo and everything. So our move-in date is gonna be before the end of the project, because we're gonna have to actually move out before they, do the demolition and the grading. But I lie on a deal and tell them I have to be done by, August 10th. And they're scrambling, they're working hard. I mean, well, that's right, they can watch. I don't really, they're working hard. I don't think they're gonna make that, I know they're not gonna make that, but sometime in September would be reasonable to think that they would be able to start moving their stuff up there before the end of the project. And we're going, I mean, we have a walkthrough with the state for the Department of Health with Tina at the end of the month. And that's what they call this, an environmental, survey or whatever, but it goes everything. Like we'll have all the fire systems commissioned, we'll have the HVAC balance and commissioned, like all this stuff comes in. And they said at that walkthrough, if we were at 90%, that would be a good target to be at, which pretty confident. That we'll be moving them in August. This hold up maybe that in that north, like door panels, which I think we may have some in-house that we could do enough to satisfy the thing until the hardware comes in. We might be able to work with them to get like the end of the hall secure, maybe not the actually hallway doors, but you couldn't get into the hallway type of deal. So we have a couple of things for the waiting on Windows. Windows is another delay. Glass company, pretty slow, but we can work around that too.
Matt's being very kind. He's been waiting since the last government ops meeting for me to work him in, so I'll throw myself under the bus. He's waiting on me.
That's right. I keep looking. If I'm wrong.
The good news with me is if you don't hear from me, you're probably fine.
I'm pretty confident in this. The biggest thing, and that's not the fault of him, is we pay out of different accounts and sometimes we start a project in like what we do H125 is where the engineering was. And then we created the, project for the barn, and then we had ARPA money here. So when we send it up, he's taking certain ones out of different,
There's 3 funding sources for these barns, so
Yeah.
Matt's trying to kind of corral the cats and.
really, I just want that big number.
Yeah.
I can start there and everything that
Have
happens.
I got enough money? That's all the million wants to know.
That big, right, I can keep track of everything I've spent, right, everything in that project, I 100% know what happens, I sign off on every single one. And we track it in our office and it goes up there and I know they're tracking it also.
We encumber his contract, so we know that, we know what we know is good.
The only thing I would do today is for Burgoyne. I would push the finance. I know, like, we're gonna run that same thing. I have this much money in
You
the
won't know until the closeouts, so yeah.
contingency, but I know I'm short on the outside of it, so we may have to add some money until we get done, just so we don't get in a situation where I'm in a negative.
So we can definitely ask the committee to move that to finance, and we'll definitely meet before finance.
Okay, yes.
I'll make it. I'll second.
John, second by Lennis. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Next.
Right. Next, we've been discussing the possibility of doing a feasibility study for the campus and the DPW barn, and we're gonna move it, so we worked with Govt to give us a proposal. The proposal, I'll give you the basics of it. The proposal is for 3 locations, and basically, we would decide the 3 locations that we could go to. And the feasibility is geotechnical, the environmental, EAF forms. So if they pick 3 locations, wherever they might be, I think the working group would agree with them before Labella started. They would go through and do all that information for us. They'd say, at this location, you have this power, X, Y, Z, here's the pros and cons of building here, here's an estimate of what you would like to build in that location, along with, some drawings of it and this and that, not the full engineering, but a concept plan. And they would do that for up to 3 locations with this. But basically, if we were to have to buy property, it would hinge on EAF, this geotechnical, or something to that effect. If, I'm just saying if, like, this are the things, if it's property we already own, but they still want to make sure before we go building something that we're not in a butterfly nesting area, or, something like that, like things that can go really wrong once you start a project. This feasibility study would cover that part of it.
Burial sites.
Yeah, they would do that research for us, ahead of time. I would say like, existing facilities. So in this, they were also gonna do the existing facilities, the parking lot assessments, right? So you have it all in one place. Kind of all know where we're at, but they would give us it, we're written, design criteria for what we decided if you were to, on different locations, they would give us what it was, site and building concept, design, the environmental stuff, cost estimates, potential permits, approvals, feasibility of the concept of plans. And, they also always have reversals, depending on how much you're driving in and out, locations and stuff like that. But the total for the feasibility study, was up to 154,000. So if we can narrow it down amongst ourselves to less locations, it would definitely be less money. If they have to go, like the environmental all goes good. If you go in and there's a sand site and it's sand, they do their thing. There's a lot of things that are easy. Fort Hand's a clay site. It's the geotechnical part and the environmental part gets harder. You're gonna have to start looking at, stormwater stuff. You do that, your septic, if there is a septic, and is it possible to put a septic there? All that stuff gotta get included. So you guys have the right information to make your decision on the location. We could sit here and talk forever about locations and argue, and everybody has a different opinion, we'll never get anywhere. If we get this in front of us, then you have everything in front of you to make an informed decision.
Robert?
Is one of the 3 places you're supposed to build this study for this one?
Could be. We haven't, this proposal doesn't,
I mean, there's some plus and minuses about being here.
yeah, I think that's our next step. I think that's what we do is now we know there's 3 locations. It can be here. It can be wherever we
Well,
want.
I'd say we gotta be able to evaluate there versus here.
So,
Yeah.
Just redo it just the way it is, heck with it. Is that better than going to James?
Yeah.
Where is there?
And I
Hampton,
believe the way we left it, that Bob was. This is for up to 3 sites, and then they would come meet with our working group to go over those 3 sites. And then the working group would say, then we could present it to the to the board of what those 3 sites are. And I'm open to any 3. I don't care. Right now, I just say, hey, up to 3.
We should be working on that, determining
Yeah.
the sites that we would like them to look at.
Yeah, we get this, and then we would definitely be working on it.
Yeah. Kind of like bad. I think that one ought to be here. The other
Yep.
2 we can find somewhere else, but we need to know with what we've already got, whether it's feasible or not.
sure, today we're trying to stay away from talking about locations, because we can talk for hours about locations, but I know that the department heads, Deb's been looking at. We've had some other areas that are looking at, what their needs are. So we get the needs down, we'll try and filter out, but definitely have, one has to be here. That would be for one or part of all the complex.
I just wanted to add part of the feasibility study is also, it's not just the barn location, right? It's also the feasibility of the current buildings that we have,
Yes,
right? Like the condition of the carpool building,
Yes.
parking lot, the layout, the condition.
Yep.
And just to update, I just talked to Deb about relining some of the parking lot because the spaces are really faded. And I was told that they went out and assessed it, and in many spots, they can't even put paint on the parking lot. So I'm just gonna add that. So I think that really has to be one of the priorities to look at.
Right.
Where I don't put it.
Doesn't stay with dirt, though.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
we
gonna,
get-
there's gonna be part of the parking lot's gonna stay the same. There'll be new areas added. But we still have to deal with that because we're not gonna get building done for 2, 3, 4 years.
But do we need to move this finance? Yes. We're saving so much on projects, how are we gonna have any money to fix it?
And we haven't funded it yet, right now.
we have not funded this yet, so that would be a discussion before finance of where you could pay for this 154 from.
Normally on these things, I am so negative, but the amount of stuff that you're saying they're gonna perform for this amount of money really sounds like a better deal than a lot of stuff we've done.
If it helps you decide the location, it'll be the best money you've ever spent.
Right, right,
We could spend,
right.
spend months trying. to
Well,
figure out
you're also
location.
gonna have an estimate on what the,
You got environmental.
a
stuff.
general estimate on what the project might be too.
That's,
And that's a key
And you
thing
may
too.
save money on the actual engineering, having this preliminary work.
yeah,
Right.
and you know,
I would
you
move-
always say,
I'm not on the committee, but I would move finance if I was sitting on it.
Yes, you are. Oh, someone would find it. Moved by Jay, second by John. Any further discussion?
You're already prepared.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, Casey's right, we get this right. So. Next one.
You want
Okay,
that
anything
for
else,
your-
anything else, Matt?
that's all I have, unless somebody else has something for me.
Tim? You had something? Oh, real property, I'm sorry. When you reappoint, the real property director? Need a motion to reappoint Miranda?
Is there a term for this?
I don't think there's a 6-year term.
6-year term. Second by Lance, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Opposed? Carried. Tim? We're gonna eat up some of, Matt's savings.
Sure.
Bring it up.
Greetings, how are you?
Good.
Not used to this day and time. So we've had some things coming up that we've been working on through the DPW projects with Matt. One of the things that were identified in talking with Melissa, talking with Al, and talking with Deb and Matt was we don't currently have AEDs at our highway barns. As part of this discussion and ensuring that our barns are equipped with everything else that the majority of our buildings are, we looked at the potential of placing an AED at each of the barns. In addition, we acquired, working with public health and ourselves, stop the bleed kits that we would be able to assign to each of the barns. Obviously, those guys are out and about doing physical activity a lot. Certainly, there are concerns there for their health and safety. Additionally, we are going to equip all of the foremen with a stop and bleed kit right in their truck. Any major project that's happening out in the field with DPW projects, there's always a foreman on site. They are one of the most likely that may need to use that in the future, so we want to make sure that they have all the tools they can to protect each other. In looking at that, some funding ideas came up about being able to get AEDs in each of the barns. It's not overly expensive. We have 7 barns that will not have AEDs after the capital projects are done. So we're probably talking in the neighborhood of 9,500 to 11,000 total. The 11,000, the high end, 9,500 just for the AEDs and the batteries, the pads that we need. We'd have to just get like some rugged cases to put them on the walls. We make sure they didn't get damaged, didn't get, dust, all those things. So in talking to Al and Melissa, we were trying to come up with some funding solutions and hope to come to Govt to talk about the possibility of taking some funding out of the workers' comp fund to fund those 7 barns that won't have AEDs when we're done with the 2 capital projects.
80s in the barns, but we have a lot of working parties out there. Is there any provision for AEDs for the portables?
So we do have a portable that we would be able to allocate for whatever job the foreman or the general foreman would suggest for the day, whether they were doing a big bridge project or a paving crew. Otherwise, we'd be looking at the potential of removing them from the barns and sending them out in the field, which we really don't recommend because that will be the one barn where we have an issue when they return to the AEDs.
But would there be provision for thinking about adding X number of mobile AEDs for highway department or other departments as well?
We absolutely could. Obviously, it's just and whatever the additional cost is. So if funding was available, we could do that. Right now, the only other place that there's mobile AEDs are with a couple members of our staff in preparation for the EMS side. And there are mobile AEDs in the sheriff's office that are out of road patrol. We don't have any other mobile AEDs right now. Parks each have an AED. The highway barns do not, obviously, and that's where the majority of our employees are stationed outside or off campus. We're going as an AED there, but definitely getting to the highway barns, the remote, that's where the majority of our employees collect after getting back from doing strenuous activity. So certainly, if there was more funding, we could buy more AEDs and send, we could have 4 AEDs or whatever the number
I
would
know
be.
some of our organizations down in our town were able to get AEDs through grants. Are there any safety grants out there that might be able to offset?
It's always a potential. I don't want to say no.
This is kind of one of the things that they normally
Yeah,
throw money towards.
I don't want to say no that there's not. Sometimes government isn't the easiest to get grant money for
I
these
hear
kind
you.
of things because they look for nonprofits and those kind of things to give money towards. So we could certainly look and see if there's extra, or look and see if we can get a grant to have a couple of mobile ones that we can apply out in the field. I think in conjunction with public health, we were able to come up with one that we could provide that we wouldn't have to purchase, that we could send out to the field. That, either the DPW superintendent or the general foreman would be able to select where they want it for the day. But yeah, I mean, our worry, right, if we pull them out of the barns, that's gonna be the one barn where the AED was needed when they got back and they hadn't made it back yet.
So just have to be moved to finance.
Yes.
Make a motion. Move to finance.
Second.
But second, and is there room in the compensation for Ms. Cotton?
So what I would encourage the board to consider between now and finance is having coordinated the calls paid for out of the project, right? They probably should have been included in the original project anyway, and that was just, they are. So those 2 will be coming out of the barns. They're actual construction projects. The remainder of the barns will fund the workers' comp. I think that makes a lot of sense with the amount of training and stuff that Phil does. In regards to that area, I think it makes perfect sense to be funded by workers' compensation. And then, definitely I would encourage Tim and Bill to put in their 2026 budget requests, whatever additional mobile units and stuff. I think those could be part of the 26 budget request. And take care of the ones in the barns now, and expand to the mobile one day for the 26th request. We're already in July, we're not that far out from the 26 budget, so.
I see him, Dave.
I think, just as important as the barn is the paving crew and the bridge crew. Yes, they're right there with the, because they really don't have a barn, they're a mobile barn. What it was like, but I think for them to have one, some of the bridges they worked on, they're minimal cell interception.
It wouldn't break my heart to see one in every Foreman truck, to be honest with you.
You
They
know,
all
that's what I'm,
trained to use that
Yes.
also. Right, Tim?
Yes.
They have to go through the training.
but they,
Is that something we should consider now or wait? for
well, the AEDs do work.
They certainly are used very often. I mean, ours aren't used very often, but they always have the potential. I mean, it only takes
When they're
one time,
needed.
right? It only takes once to.
So we want to add 2 mobile ones for the paving crew and the bridge crew? Or the foreman's truck, I don't know.
At any given time, and I did ask this question, there's typically 2 bridge crews and a paving crew during the summer.
So why don't we do a little more research on that, see what we need for that and bring that back to finance?
Sure.
Okay, have any other questions? Thanks, good. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Here, other business?
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Other business? I do have another. I would like to request a motion to go into executive session for the reason of
Matters leading to the appointment, employment, motion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, removal of a particular person and or discussions regarding post litigation.
motion by John, and second by Jim and Lance. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.